Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 107 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. Luo Feng created the primordial life and death Tao. Although his life form hasn't mutated yet, the Tao is also part of his life, and he is completely different from before. Relying on his own Tao, Luo Feng could sense a space-time fluctuation coming through. That space-time fluctuation made him feel threatened. In the past, when facing the Starlight Lord, Luo Feng couldn't even detect the other's aura. But now, he could clearly sense the threat, and they were already beings on the same level. Luo Feng, you should know, in the past years, more than 1/6 of our practitioner camp's territory has fallen. A vast amount of source worlds and ordinary worlds have been breached, countless cultivator lives extinguished. The voice of the Starlight Lord continued, every one of us lords wants the innate primordial life camp to pay a sufficient price. More than 1/6 of the territory, how many creatures died? Even the lords couldn't count. The main battle avatars of our 7 lords are fighting against 73 ancestors. The Starlight Lord transmitted, currently, the outside world does not know of the birth of the 8th Lord. You must keep it a secret. All avatars outside the land of origin must not break through. Once they break through, they are easily detected by some ancestors of the innate primordial life camp. The land of origin is special, breaking through here, they won't discover it, stated the Starlight Lord. As the last stronghold of the practitioner camp, the lords have expended countless efforts to isolate all spying. I understand, I will keep it a secret, Luo Feng said. A concealed blade can make the ancestors pay a painful price. If he exposes himself, every ancestor will be wary. Luo Feng very much wanted to deliver a fierce blow to these ancestors. You break through first, we'll discuss more after you're done. The Starlight Lord did not disturb further. In the quiet room of the cave mansion, all of Luo Feng's avatars dispersed, and various energies began to gather under his spiritual consciousness, further devouring the vast energy continuously provided by the quiet room of the cave mansion. The energy supplied by the land of origin was vast. In a mere breath, it was enough to supply the energy of a world-level primordial perfection life form. At this moment, Luo Feng was wantonly devouring, and more than 90% of the energy from the land of origin was prioritized for Luo Feng, letting him absorb it. In a moment, dark green sources floated within the cave mansion, with a count totaling 1,080,000,000. 1,080,000,000 sources, like a star array, interlinked as one. This was also the core of Luo Feng's physical body. Boom! The power from the land of origin surged into those 1,080,000,000 sources like a substantial flood, continuously pouring in. These 1,080,000,000 sources seemed bottomless, absorbing ceaselessly. At the same time, using these hundreds of millions of sources as the core, countless strands began to extend, either dark green strands spreading and growing to form flesh, or golden strands integrating into every part of the body, or blood-red strands extending. A massive black-robed, black-haired man's body was forming. The man's skin, fascia, bones, and flesh were permeated with countless blood-red strands. This blood-red strand was Luo Feng's achievement in the Star Tower blood scale. Its influence on Luo Feng was profound. Luo Feng also understood that merely having strong protective scale armor on the surface meant little. At the Lord level, attacks make no distinction between inside and outside, internal weaknesses become fatal. Thus, Luo Feng deciphered many mysteries from the Star Tower blood scale and perfectly combined them with his physical body system, creating this blood-red strand. In reality, these blood-red strands were another form of blood scale, but covering every part of the body. This blood-red strand system also made Luo Feng's blood red. With the primordial life and death Tao, Luo Feng's blood should be dark green. It was precisely due to the additional blood-red strand system that the color of his blood, muscles, and bones changed. My skin and fascia, I estimate, only have 1/10 of the defensive strength of the Star Tower blood scale, not considered immortal. But every part of my body is of such toughness. The entire body has no weak points. This body's size continued to grow. Still within the scope of my spiritual consciousness system's control, grow, keep growing. Luo Feng absorbed the energy fully, converting it into a gigantic physical body. The quiet room of the cave mansion was too small. Luo Feng couldn't even stand, he could only sit cross-legged. Sitting cross-legged, he almost occupied the entire quiet room space-time. He could only compress his size, but in reality, the physical body continued to grow. In the land of origin, 7 lords constantly monitored Luo Feng's breakthrough situation. He is still absorbing energy to the maximum extent. Jin couldn't help but say, the energy his current physical body is absorbing has already surpassed me. His primordial life and death Tao is primarily based on life. Yuan laughed. It is foreseeable that his body will far exceed ours. Only Lord Wulan could compare to him. Comparable to Lord Wulan? Ming Huang gently shook his head. The size is just too big. Lord Wulan's body was equivalent to a normal source world. In a normal source world, most of the internal area is void. Yet Lord Wulan's was a super large material body. The material of his body, still at the Lord level, was tough and hard to annihilate. Far beyond comparison with soil, rocks, and such materials in a source world. Lord Wulan's kind of body might get injured in the infinite primordial space, but even if attacked by more than 70 ancestors, they'd only manage to hold him down, unwilling to expend too much effort on him. In the infinite primordial space, there were also several with abnormal defensive capabilities. There are those with stronger defenses than Lord Wulan. For instance, the ancestor-level being Origin, an ancestor-level entity in the form of a perfect sphere, representing the pinnacle of the defense Tao of the entire infinite primordial space. Of course, both Lord Wulan and the ancestor Origin share a common weakness: they are somewhat lacking in offense. Their methods, at the same level, appear clumsy, with many moves failing to hit the enemy. The energy he absorbed has surpassed mine, said Lord Nai-Ji-Yu. It's about 1/10 of mine, Wulan remarked from afar, observing, with a massive physical body almost the size of the source world, naturally holding a vast amount of energy. Of the 7 lords, Lord Nai-Ji-Yu, with the second largest body, had only 1/10 of his energy. As the 7 lords watched, Luo Feng continued to absorb energy, seemingly like a bottomless abyss, continuously devouring it. He's reached 50% of mine, Wulan exclaimed in shock. He's reached 80% of Wulan's. Jin shouted in surprise, how can he absorb so much energy? Yuan watched from afar and couldn't help but say, he's already caught up with Wulan. And he's still absorbing energy? More than Wulan, and a lot more, Starlight also observed. Ming Huang laughed, looks like there's another indestructible fellow. Previously, among the 7 of them, only Wulan dared to let the enemy attack freely. Now, from the vast amount of energy Luo Feng absorbed, it was apparent that he was also extremely resilient. The stronger his survival capabilities, the weaker his offense will be, remarked Lord Mo Man, frowning. The other lords nodded in agreement. They all wielded the Tao of the highest level of power, and among beings of the same level, the differences were minimal. Each lord had their own strengths. Like Wulan, who was terrifyingly strong in defense. Like Jin and Mo Man, who were unbelievably strong in offense. Yuan was most skilled in formations. He could multiply the combined strength of the 7 lords by several times. Yuan was also the most important lord in group warfare. His path leans towards life, Yuan said, while the life path has its offensive means, it ultimately falls short. Luo Feng breaks laws with force, Starlight laughed, he's a bit immature now, but in the future, he will overcome this weakness. The lords present all agreed. Breaking laws with force indeed had greater potential. Once he breaks through, we will understand his techniques in detail and decide how to cooperate, Yuan said. He's absorbed so much energy, Jin couldn't help but shake his head. Among the lords, his physical energy was almost at the lowest, with only Lord Mo Man being weaker. He finally stopped, having absorbed more than triple mine. Even Wulan was somewhat amazed. With so much energy, letting the enemy deplete it would be very difficult, Mo Man sighed, if only I had 1/10 of his energy. Lord Mo Man, as the lord with the least energy, had only 1/30th of Lord Wulan's energy, which was approximately 1% of Luo Feng's. From another perspective, his offensive methods were extremely terrifying, leaving the ancestors unable to escape his techniques. Inside the quiet room of the cave mansion, a man in black clothes and black hair returned to his normal size, with a terrifying domain naturally spreading out from him as the center. Just like the source world origin having a supreme rule operation system, Luo Feng's body was even more terrifying than the source world origin. His life and death operation system naturally influenced all directions. In the vast area where his main avatar was present, even world-level primordial lives would perish under the life and death operation system. Finally absorbed to the brim, Luo Feng felt the 1,008,000,000 origins within him reaching full capacity, a sense of satisfaction welling up within him. His physical body, though enormous, had already grown to its limit. Only with 1,008,000,000 origins could it carry such a vast amount of energy, allowing him to absorb until now. My physical body, though immense, contains energy 10 times greater than the energy contained within the 1,008,000,000 origins. Luo Feng easily determined the energy within the myriad origins. If my full physical form were revealed, it would be about 1/3 of my hometown source world, Luo Feng assessed. With a physical form 1/3 the size of his hometown source world, every part of his body had the toughness of 1/10 of the Star Tower blood scale. All comprised of such high-level flesh, the strength of his body was conceivable, every movement carrying overwhelming force. Thorough breakthrough achieved. The complete evolution of his life form, he truly grasped the great power of a lord level. Luo Feng felt his current strength, a single breath could reduce a world-level primordial to ashes. Luo Feng, these are the Tao of us 7 lords, along with all the intelligence we've gathered on ancestor-level entities of the infinite primordial space. Understand it first, and then hurry to create combat techniques that suit you, Starlight Lord's voice echoed. Simultaneously, a flow of information arrived. Luo Feng received it with a single thought. Having just become a lord, he'd soon be on the battlefield, facing over 70 ancestors. Luo Feng felt the pressure. This information stream contains numerous commonalities that the lords ought to know. A lord-level cave mansion has already been prepared for me. Luo Feng learned about the structure of the land of origin, secret areas, formation composition, and routes in and out from the information stream. Every lord occupies a vast cave mansion, holding their ground at a location. Luo Feng's cave mansion was situated at one of the formation nodes, and his arrival could make the formation of the land of origin more stable. Phew! Luo Feng's thoughts swept across the entire land of origin, connecting with the other 7 lords, 200+ world-level primordials, over 80 million high-level primordials, and some cultivators within the braided cage. Only the other 7 lords could perceive Luo Feng's thoughts. Luo Feng, congratulations on becoming the 8th lord of our cultivator camp. Yuan was full of joy. This war will see a turnaround because of you, and the fate of the entire cultivator territory will change because of you. First, quickly grasp the vast information and comprehend your combat technique. Afterwards, we will study how to coordinate together. Jin urged, having been stifled for too long, now just waiting for Luo Feng to join in for the counterattack. Brother Luo Feng, the life energy you possess surpasses mine by far. Lord Wulan was also gratified. When the lords made group efforts, it was mainly him enduring the brunt. However, the ancestors too wielded the highest level power with unpredictable methods. Even with Yuan's formation assistance, he could only barely hold off most of them. Now, with Luo Feng, it became much easier and they could support each other. Luo Feng, congratulations. Ming Huang was the most indirect. Brother Luo Feng, having you and Wulan here makes future confrontations with the innate primordial life camp much more relaxed for our cultivator camp. You both are sufficient to stabilize the situation. Lord Naijiyu was in high spirits. He had been pessimistic before but was now quite optimistic. A defensively formidable Lord Wulan, combined with Luo Feng, whose energy exceeded that of Lord Wulan by more than triple, would make group confrontations much simpler for the other lords, who were physically weaker. Like last time, merely with Lord Wulan being held back, under the furious assault by the multitude of ancestors, Jin, Ming Huang, and Mo Man's main battle avatars were almost blown apart. Similar perilous situations frequently occurred. Lord Naijiyu had had enough of this sense of danger and wanted more safety. Brother Luo Feng, I've long anticipated your appearance. Lord Mo Man was quite pleased, They all knew Luo Feng was a lord who specialized in the life path, employing the power-breaking technique. Life, what does it signify? Everyone understands. Everyone hopes to have a companion proficient in the life path. Everyone, I'll first study the combat technique. Luo Feng responded to these 7 companions. He knew that in future years, these 7 lords would be his most trustworthy companions in the infinite primordial space, all forming the most robust protection force for the entire cultivator camp. Luo Feng took a step and arrived at a vast cave mansion, which occupied an immense landmass of ocean in the land of origin, covering about 1% of the entire area. Based on the foundation of the land of origin, this expansive cave mansion had layers upon layers of time and space opened within it, cumulatively surpassing the size of a source world. Sigh? Luo Feng now sat cross-legged at the center of this vast time and space. First, understand the 7 lords. Having no experience with the level of confrontation between lords and ancestors, Luo Feng naturally needed to first thoroughly understand it. His current rate of thought was unknowably faster than before, and just from probing, he comprehended that Daos created by the 7 lords, their combat techniques, and some of their cultivation experiences. Jin, what he created is the primordial destruction Dao. According to his own description, his primordial destruction Dao is 9 parts destruction, 1 part life. Because pure destruction makes it difficult to construct life forms, it requires a touch of life mystery to be infused. The sky-splitting saber that I exchanged for also is roughly 9 parts destruction, 1 part life. Luo Feng flipped his hand to take out the sky-splitting saber, which now posed no pressure to him. Jin's path and the sky-splitting saber's path are very similar. I wonder if there is any connection. Luo Feng contemplated. Holding the sky-splitting saber, he could remotely sense a place filled with endless destruction energy, a place so vast and unfathomable even to his current power. There, thousands upon thousands of weapons were gestating, each indestructible, suitable as lord-level weapons. The sky-splitting saber contains the highest level of destruction mysteries and can serve as a lord's weapon. Luo Feng now confirmed this point, and this type of weapon, there seem to be thousands and thousands in that mysterious land I can sense. This place must harbor numerous secrets. I'll explore and study it well after the war. Luo Feng was very interested in this, believing the other lords should have intelligence on this mysterious land. However, the current most urgent matter is the war, and Luo Feng's primary understanding pertained to intelligence on the lords and ancestors and some common knowledge. More vast information can be slowly studied when there's free time. Having become a lord allows for a stronger sensing of the infinite primordial space, including encountering many unknowns. Luo Feng could sense that the infinite primordial space had some terrifying mysterious places, unshielded, and some giving him a strong sense of threat. Before becoming a lord, Luo Feng knew of the infinite world nurtured by the infinite Great Serpent clan, through which one could instantly appear in any part of the infinite primordial space. The land of origin is occupied by the cultivator camp, the mysterious land that nurtured the sky-splitting saber. There are many similar mysterious lands. We'll explore them slowly in the future. Lord Wulan cultivates the primordial material Dao, but actually it's 9 parts matter and 1 part infinity combined. Because pure matter has relatively weaker defense, it needs to be combined with certain infinite mysteries to convert material energy. According to Wulan's judgment, if he can fuse more infinite mysteries, his techniques will be much more flexible and not so clumsy. The information Luo Feng received includes the complete Dao of Wulan, a full description of the inheritance. It's not something that can be learned. Each Lord's Dao contains their own spiritual will. At most, one can borrow a few insights. Ming Huang, Primordial Thunder Dao, 8 parts thunder, 2 parts water Dao. Only Lord Mo Man is the purest extreme, his Dao is purely the primordial fluctuation Dao. Luo Feng was surprised after understanding this. Among all 8 lords, only Lord Mo Man is the purest. His body, in essence, is a single fluctuation, and he is the smallest in physique among the 8 lords, and his energy reserve is also the lowest. Is it really this crazy? After learning about Lord Mo Man, Luo Feng realized that Lord Mo Man was the first to achieve the master of the source world by the faith path. His voice can make countless creatures submit, and he has also pioneered the pure primordial fluctuation Tao. This path is strongly damaging to the ancestors, unknowingly penetrating deep within their bodies. The longer they battle him, the more their injuries accumulate. Lord Nijiu and Yuan's paths are somewhat similar. Luo Feng noticed this point. Lord Nijiu follows the primordial bloodline Tao. It requires absorbing ancestor-level bloodlines. Each one is very special. Completely mastering them is extremely difficult. With every ancestor-level bloodline mastered, Nijiu becomes stronger. Theoretically, he can continue to strengthen endlessly. Senior Yuan, primordial rule operation Tao. Yuan has comprehended the most Tao in the cultivator camp. He has understood many paths. He initially penetrated the perfect operation of 9 paths, realizing the rule operation system, and thereby becoming a lord. Other lords each have their specialties, but Senior Yuan can cultivate multiple Taos. Although each Tao is merely the complete Great Tao at the God King Ultimate Realm stage, Senior Yuan has already comprehended 25 Great Tao. The perfect operation of 9 Great Tao is the primordial rule operation Tao, making Yuan a lord. As he comprehends more Tao, they further integrate into the primordial rule operation system, enhancing his power. Without considering Starlight Lord, Yuan's current strength is clearly a step above the other lords. Nijiu, Yuan, their paths are unusual, continuously accumulating and enhancing. Nijiu, Jin, Wulan, Minghuang, Mo Man, these 5 still remain at the same level. Yuan is already half a step stronger than them. And Starlight Lord is a step stronger than Nijiu and the others. Before him, Starlight Lord was the only one using the power-breaking technique. For a smoother reading experience, visit Novel Fire. Starlight Lord is a step stronger than other lords. Luo Feng understood the inherited information. The so-called further step is to comprehend the second primordial level Tao. Indeed, the primordial level Tao represents the essence of a certain highest power. But if one's ability is sufficient, there is hope to comprehend the second primordial level Tao. Then, the strength will naturally be much stronger than other lords. Each lord walks a path that deeply resonates with their inner desires. Only then can they become a lord. To change a path? It would no longer be the ultimate desire of the heart. Even though the lords have fast mental operations, strong comprehension, and observation abilities, the chance of comprehending the second primordial level Tao is nearly 0. This is the perception of other lords. Starlight Lord, before jumping out of the braided cage, as a half-primordial life, stubbornly comprehended the primordial space-time path. At that time, his life level was too low, yet he had enough recognition of the void, but his comprehension of time in primordial space was very weak. Thus, Starlight Lord, using the power-breaking technique, realized the primordial space-time path, based on space. Space occupies 9 parts, time takes 1 part. His power in direct combat was already very strong. Later, he became a lord. With his lord-level life form, he comprehended another primordial space-time path, primarily based on time. Time takes 7 parts, space occupies 3 parts. The combination of both paths made him the most terrifying entity in the time and space aspect across infinite primordial space. His combat ability greatly surpasses other lords. His most frightening abilities are always present everywhere, present in every time, unassailable power. Although other lords are strong, their primary combat avatars can be blown up. Lord Wulan's body can be restrained and trapped. But Starlight Lord? He can't be killed. Facing terrifying assaults, his body can descend at any time from the past or future, so in a fight, there is no hope of killing him. He can appear at any location around. His presence has kept the cultivated territory stable. The innate primordial life camp spares no effort in attacking and has only managed to breach over 600 world groups. Why is it so difficult? Why do numerous world-level primordial and high-level primordial perish? It's because of the omnipresent Starlight Lord. No wonder Senior Yuan believes Starlight contributes the most. However, Senior Yuan is humble, as he played a role in every lord's development. Luo Feng thought, due to the birth of the first lord, resources have been nurtured for subsequent lords. Without Senior Yuan, how could Starlight Lord exchange for a world-level primordial servant before jumping out of the braided cage? Without Senior Yuan, without Starlight Senior, Luo Feng wouldn't have the Star Tower, wouldn't have numerous primordial bloodlines for insights. Wanting to become a lord would be so much harder. The path Starlight Lord walks coincides with my thoughts. Luo Feng had similar thoughts early on. Before breaking free from the braided cage, he realized his life and death Tao was led astray by the Star Tower blood scale, 7 parts life, 3 parts destruction. At that time, he had no choice but to follow that path, which he certainly liked. As a life form, it should be centered on life. But if you want to annihilate enemies, you must focus on destruction. I can attempt to create a new, primordial life and death Tao, primarily centered on destruction. Luo Feng had this idea early on, but at that time, his life level was too low, and he dared not try a second path. Now, becoming a lord, he could try. The Tao created in the future can be given a different name. Luo Feng looked at the sky-splitting saber in his hand, for instance, Primordial Blade Path. The name is just a title. Creating a new Tao could take an indefinable amount of time. I'll slowly ponder it once the war is over. Luo Feng also understood the difficulty of pioneering a second primordial Tao. All other lords have failed, and it took Starlight Lord a long time for his second Tao. These ancestors possess powerful strength as well. Luo Feng carefully learned about the upcoming opponents, even though these ancestors grew through life core, reaching their current status. It doesn't mean they are weak. Among them are those stronger and weaker. Some are stronger than lords in certain aspects. Even Starlight Lord, before comprehending the second space-time Tao, several individuals surpassed his achievement in the space-time aspect across infinite primordial space. Only recently did he rise to the first position. Over 70 ancestors combining forces to destroy everything, their power is too terrifying. Luo Feng felt a bit worried. Could he withstand it? Understanding his companions and learning the opponent's techniques, Luo Feng began attempting to create a system of combat techniques with his Tao. The black-clad, black-haired Luo Feng sat cross-legged in the vast center of time and space. The lords are the most powerful life forms in the infinite primordial space, with every ounce of strength in their bodies self-created, so their degree of control and utilization over their own bodies is well imaginable. The speed of thought processes reached a fantastically unimaginable velocity. Comprehension also became very terrifying. Within one's own primordial life and death Tao, the desire to create secret techniques would quickly form one after another in the mind. The difficulty of creating a secret technique, compared to establishing a primordial level Tao, was unknown by how many times easier. My previous life operation system impacted a vast range. But towards the ancestor level, the threat was reduced. Luo Feng thought, I need to specifically create a set of domain secret techniques. Considering the over 100 ancestors from the innate primordial life camp as opponents, Luo Feng pondered the domain secret techniques. It must be known that the power each ancestor masters is unique and is of the highest level. When more than 100 ancestors unite, they form the greatest force of the infinite primordial life camp. Treating them as hypothetical opponents, many secret techniques had to be abandoned. Ordinary secret techniques, Luo Feng could comprehend 10 million types in a day. They could appear in the heart at every moment. But facing over 100 ancestors, Luo Feng painstakingly spent tens of thousands of days to perfect a life and death domain secret technique. Then create the most suitable combat secret technique for myself, Luo Feng continued to ponder. His body was strong enough, containing immense energy. The same move. If the energy is 10 times stronger, the power of the move is also completely different. My combat secret technique must utilize the advantage of abundant energy, Luo Feng thought. He not only had a massive energy reserve, but his recovery ability was also very fast, with the ability to recover at 1,800,000,000 origin powers, ranking in the top 3 of the entire infinite primordial space. Time passed. The numerous combat techniques Luo Feng created for the hypothetical over 100 ancestors were gradually taking shape. In the land of origin, the Dark Lake space, 7 Lord Avatars waited patiently here. Now that Luo Feng had become a lord, a counterattack was imminent and they were still patient. I don't know how long it will take Luo Feng to create the secret techniques. Jin said. He took only 25 billion epoch time to break laws with force. With such comprehension, after becoming a lord, just creating some combat secret techniques is still very quick. Yuan said, it's just that this time, facing 73 ancestors, Luo Feng might feel some pressure. Ming Huang also smiled slightly. Brother Luo Feng indeed has it tough, just breaking through and having to face such terrifying opponents. If it were me, facing such opponents just after becoming a lord, I would also panic. Lord Naijiu laughed. When he had just become a lord, he only mastered 2 ancestor-level bloodlines, and his strength was at the bottom among lords, only now growing to a standard lord level. Luo Feng is different. Starlight laughed. Each lord has their own Dao they excel in. Luo Feng's primordial life and death Dao is best at frontal combat. In terms of movement technique, Luo Feng is far less capable than Starlight, Ming Huang, Jin, and Mo Man. Like Mo Man himself is a primordial fluctuation, his transformation elusive, perhaps only Starlight could slightly surpass him. Haha, Luo Feng's body is so huge, perhaps his movement technique is even worse than mine. Wu Lan laughed heartily. Though his energy is greater than yours, his body is only a third of yours. Starlight Lord had already clearly observed some of Luo Feng's future combat scenarios. He is still quite a bit more flexible than you. Wu Lan was taken aback. Was he still at the bottom? Of course, only slightly more flexible than you. Starlight Lord laughed. Lord Naijiu pondered. In terms of movement technique, he's merely stronger than Wu Lan, and among us, he's the second from the bottom. In terms of defense, he should not be as good as Wu Lan, who pursues the ultimate defense. How can he be considered best at frontal combat? Because he now has endless energy, using force to strongly suppress his enemies, Starlight Lord said. Endless energy? Mo Man couldn't help but say, can it be called infinite? Starlight Lord nodded. In his observation of the future, Luo Feng's moves never counted energy as a concern. No matter how he used them, Luo Feng could always maintain the pinnacle state. This shows that his recovery speed surpassed his application speed. On this point alone, his frontal combat strength is already considered extremely strong among us lords. Starlight Lord said, he still uses the power breaking technique, and in the future, he should be able to comprehend a second primordial life and death Dao. By then he will exploit the advantage of endless energy to the extreme, with every bit of energy used most efficiently. Endless energy, with each bit of energy still used in the most ingenious way. Jin couldn't help but say, one-on-one, who in the infinite primordial space could rival him? That's why I said, he will be the most powerful presence for frontal combat on our cultivator camp. Starlight Lord said, for the cultivator camp, he will be more important than me. Your space-time abilities help the cultivator camp in all aspects. Ming Huang spoke up. In frontal combat, Starlight is now the strongest, of course, only slightly stronger. But observing many futures can naturally allow the cultivator side to avoid danger. Even when facing the siege of over 70 ancestors, Starlight Lord could calculate the opponent's flaws and evade the weaknesses of his side. This ability to foresee the future is profoundly helpful. In addition, with the scope of the space-time net covering, Starlight Lord can appear anywhere within the range, which is of great help to the territorial garrison. In the view of the other lords, even if Luo Feng's future frontal strength is the strongest, his contribution to the cultivator territory is still difficult to match up to Starlight, part of a series hosted by my virtual library empire, MV and LEMP and YR. In the future, you'll see. Starlight said no more. He himself was very happy with Luo Feng's growth. After all, in past years, his pressure was too immense, observing countless future lines, searching for the cultivator camp's vitality. But in the end, when the innate primordial life camp spared no expense, he could only watch as the cultivator territory gradually fell. He understands a principle. Despite observing countless futures, strength is the foundation. So, in his eyes, Luo Feng is more important than him. Among the two who break laws with force, Luo Feng is more adept at combat. Everyone. A voice sounded. The 7 lords noticed, seeing a black-haired and black-clothed man arriving at the space of this dark lake. Luo Feng. All 7 lords looked at Luo Feng. Sit, Yuan said. Luo Feng casually sat on a large rock by the lake. Have all the secret techniques been created? Yuan asked. I carefully studied those ancestors' methods and also created some combat secret techniques. Luo Feng said, however, I don't really understand how to coordinate. Yuan smiled and said, you only need to exhibit the techniques you excel at, and I will devise a coordination plan for you. The formation set by Yuan would perfectly integrate all the Lord's techniques, enhancing overall strength several times. All right. Luo Feng nodded. With a thought, Luo Feng enveloped the dark lake space with a domain, within which a faint cyan light fluctuated along with countless stars. This is the realm of life and death I created. Luo Feng said, within the realm of life and death, it can enhance the vitality of comrades and deprive the enemy's vitality energy. It can also obliterate some enemy power. However, facing a large group of ancestors, the effect might be relatively weak. This realm of life and death has another use. Besides Brother Wu Lan, if any other lords suffer severe injuries, I can instantly restore them. As Luo Feng said this, the 6 lords originally observing and sensing the realm of life and death were stunned, while Starlight Lord smiled knowingly, having been aware. Can you restore such severe injuries? Lord Mo Man couldn't help but ask, being the weakest in physique among the lords. One-on-one, of course, he wouldn't mind those ancestors, but facing over 70 ancestors joining forces, he had to be extra cautious, fearful of having his main combat avatar destroyed. You mean, as long as not dead, it can be immediately restored? Ming Huang couldn't help but ask, even the strongest vitality restoration ability shouldn't have such capability. Infinite primordial space also contains beings with strong life abilities, indeed able to enhance our vitality, but not to this extent. Jin said, who also had a certain understanding of life. This is not vitality restoration. Luo Feng spoke, it's me transforming my origin power to replenish to you. The energy contained in Wu Lan's body has 1/3 of his own. If seriously injured, Luo Feng wouldn't dare say he could completely restore. But for other lords? Even the body almost second to Wu Lan's, Lord Nai Jiyu only has 1/10 of Wu Lan and only 1/30 of himself, like a life fountain, replenishing to the other is still easy. The recovery capability of 1,008,000,000 origin, although after becoming a lord, energy is too vast, recovery capability drops slightly, yet within one breath, Luo Feng can restore 1/10. That is to say, within one breath, 3 complete Lord Nai Jiyu can be restored. You transform origin power to us. Does it impact you? These lords clearly understood, origin power is undeniably crucial to oneself. No impact. Luo Feng smiled slightly, my recovery capability is very strong. As long as the main combat avatar isn't dead, it can instantly be restored. Then the power I exerted can be doubled. Mo Man got excited, since previously exerting techniques, energy had to be used sparingly. After all, if the energy of the main combat avatar decreases significantly, strength will also drop noticeably, and survival capability would be much weaker. The previous 7 lords did not have someone like Luo Feng, who was like a life fountain, enabling the comrades to always maintain the perfect state. I also can be more reckless. Jin also felt delighted, and immediately flickered beside Luo Feng, his hand covered with silver scales around Luo Feng, smiling warmly, Brother Luo Feng, from now on, you are my best brother. In infinite primordial space, I still have other important tasks to attend to. After the war, will you accompany me? Having such a partner, one can always maintain the pinnacle state, is truly wonderful. All right, no problem. Luo Feng nodded. Jin, you previously mentioned I was your best brother. Mo Man gently shook his head. He and Jin belonged to similar temperaments, sharing many viewpoints in the cultivator camp. Things change. Jin cheerfully said, don't worry, among my friends, you now rank second. Then you rank second too. My best friend has also become Luo Feng. Mo Man looked at Luo Feng, Brother Luo Feng, you and I are perfectly matched. I just need to leave a weak avatar by your side. My main combat avatar can exert the strongest techniques at all costs. You then restore my weak avatar to the strongest, meaning I can continuously exert the strongest killing techniques. The two of us together, who in infinite primordial space can stop us? With an additional companion capable of instant restoration to the pinnacle, numerous coordination plans are available. Jin, Mo Man, Ming Huang, all looked at Luo Feng with a different gaze. All right. Yuan laughed and said, only relying on Luo Feng's realm of life and death, our overall strength can at least increase by 20%. This ability of Luo Feng affects Starlight, Yuan, and Wu Lan little, as these three generally maintain peak status, greatly affecting Nai-Gu and having a significant impact on the other three. Luo Feng, besides domains, what else are you skilled in? Yuan asked. Mainly two categories, one is the physical body combat system, and the other is the blade technique system. Luo Feng began to showcase one by one. Among the lords of the cultivator camp, everything was transparent. Their Dao, inheritances, and combat techniques were not guarded against each other. The reason for this openness is twofold. Firstly, they are the most trustworthy companions, and the more they understand each other, the better they can cooperate. Secondly, each lord's Dao is unique. Even if one day, two lords create the same primordial path, the internal mysteries still differ significantly, and the spiritual integrated is entirely different. Every lord must carve out the path most suitable for themselves. Luo Feng and the others are well aware that when creating a primordial level path, any slight disharmony of spirit will lead to failure. The techniques of the life path are generally vicious and challenging. Jin watched with amazement. Your techniques, however, quite fierce. I don't like purely life-based techniques, Luo Feng said. Pure life techniques lack means to kill enemies. Some methods like depriving vitality, infiltration, and erosion can immediately extinguish the vitality of those world-level primordials at just a glance from Luo Feng, causing instant death. However, against the ancestors, these methods are much less effective. It requires some killing moves post-life and destruction fusion. Luo Feng, the 73 ancestors and we lords have been engaging with long-range techniques, Yuan said. Neither side dares to fall into the midst of the other's group. Luo Feng nodded. Once trapped by the opponent, even Lord Wulan would be heavily restrained and possibly imprisoned for a short period. So you should only employ long-range methods then, Yuan said. As for the method of cooperation, I have already conveyed it to everyone. Information was sent to the 7 lords around him. Luo Feng also received the information stream. Within the information stream, Yuan had already simulated detailed battle scenarios, with 8 lords cooperating against the 73 ancestors, simulating numerous combat scenarios. I understand. Luo Feng nodded. With his current life level, he could infer many other combat situations from watching once. Luo Feng's contribution to collective battles is substantial, and our overall strength will increase by 30 to 40%. Yuan looked at his companions, and the ancestors have no idea about Luo Feng's breakthrough. We must seize the opportunity to eliminate several ancestors. The lords present all nodded. They had long been filled with a killing intent. After all, they hold the highest positions in the cultivator camp, with the inherent responsibility to protect the entire camp. Now that more than 1/6 of the territory has fallen, with countless creatures obliterated, how can they not feel aggrieved and angry? Starlight, take Luo Feng and set out cautiously, Yuan said. All right. Starlight Lord nodded. Once Luo Feng enters the battle. Once the ancestors detect this, they will immediately dispatch forces urgently. The reinforcement forces are estimated to take 3 days to arrive. Yuan looked at everyone. These 3 days are our window to expand the battle results. The infinite primordial space is too vast, and even though the innate primordial life camp has ancestors adept at spacetime, the reinforcements still take 3 days. 3 days travel is already considered fast. Shall we set out now, Luo Feng? Starlight looked at Luo Feng. All right. Luo Feng nodded, already in the most prepared state within this short time. Whoosh! Starlight quietly took Luo Feng away from the land of origin. Luo Feng is considered the most adept at concealing life aura in the entire infinite primordial space, with every strand of life aura fully controlled. Even causal methods find it hard to detect Luo Feng. With my current life level, every step covers an endlessly vast distance. Much faster than lake transmission. But compared to Starlight Lord, it pales in comparison. Luo Feng could sense the traveling speed of his companion. With each step Starlight took, they crossed countless space-times. Countless layers of space-time appeared stacked like a map underfoot. It felt like walking on a map. Do the beings with the highest attainments in space-time across the entire infinite primordial space travel like this? Luo Feng exclaimed. Each lord has their strengths, Starlight laughed. I'm just good at traveling. This isn't merely traveling, it's transcending the entire space-time. Luo Feng observed his feet. The vast space-time seems like a map, allowing such traversal. This skill is truly incredible. No wonder all the high-level primordial bloodlines and world-level primordial bloodlines have been collected. Starlight's ability indeed is terrifying. Each lord is undying and undestroyable, Starlight said. They are entirely transcendent beings. It is because they protect the cultivator camp that they endure such hardships. Lords are individual entities of the most powerful tier in infinite primordial space. If they were selfish and ignored the life and death of countless cultivators, they would be much more at ease. However, the source world nurtured them, and on their path of cultivation, they have received so much grace and causality. How can they forget? No matter how powerful the cultivation, one must not forget their roots or their origin. We are already struggling to protect the 3,600 world clusters, having lost over 600. Starlight looked at Luo Feng. Your talent and potential are not inferior to mine, but you're different. Your path specializes in combat. To protect a sufficiently vast cultivator territory, what we rely on is strength, is combat, Starlight said. Bear in mind, the source world exists everywhere, far beyond just these 3,600 world clusters. Luo Feng gently nodded. I will do my utmost. The 3,600 world clusters represent, relatively speaking, the region with the highest density of source worlds in the infinite primordial space. Suitable for constructing a space-time net. Previously, the 7 lords strived to garrison this territory. There are many world clusters, very remote, very distant. For example, a region more vast than the 3,600 world clusters. This region has only one world cluster. Remote and sparse, symbolic of the challenges of guardianship. Thinking too much, Starlight said while looking at Luo Feng. For now, our most urgent task is to completely reclaim the 3,600 world clusters. Starlight, traveling with Luo Feng, spent nearly a day approaching the battlefield. This battlefield is an endless, vast void, with an exceedingly wide-ranging impact from the battle. One source world on the edge was blown apart. The lords had no solution for this. After all, they were at a disadvantage. Wow! Time and space shook like boiling water. Within the endless boiling water there were 73 terrifying figures, the highest level powers erupting in various ways. These highest level powers were coordinating and weaving together, fully enveloping the 7 lords. The main battle avatars of the 7 lords were struggling to cope. Fortunately, the formation of Yuan allowed the lords' cooperation to qualitatively change, enhancing their overall strength several times. Otherwise the lords couldn't handle the ancestors' collective joint efforts. Luo Feng increased the overall strength by 30 to 40%, seemingly significant, yet far from the importance of Yuan in collective combat. Of course, Luo Feng currently strengthens by 30 to 40% on the existing basis, clearly aiding the Lord's team. That Starlight Lord, while engaging with us, still managed to allocate power to attack various teams. We must seize the opportunity to break them. These ancestors also felt enraged. Starlight could divide its power, attacking various teams, meaning these ancestors couldn't force the Lords to exert fully. Just at this moment, swoosh! Time and space twisted. Starlight Lord, accompanied by a black-robed, black-haired man, descended directly into the Lord's team. Starlight Lords. This avatar naturally fused with the main battle avatar. The 73 ancestors instantly noticed this black-robed, black-haired man. Who is he? The ancestors were shocked, sensing something ominous. The black-robed, black-haired man just arrived, and the realm of life and destruction unfolded wide, although his domain when penetrating towards the ancestors' region was swiftly shredded and collapsed. Yet in his own region, Luo Feng's origin power rapidly transformed to supplement ally power. Mo Man, Jin, Ming Huang, Nai Jiyu, who were originally injured, instantly recovered to pinnacle. Luo Feng joined the Lord's team, guided by Yuan's formation, also reverted to his enormous size, alongside Lord Wulan, to resist numerous attacks from the ancestors. Boom! The 73 ancestors' joint efforts, all consisted of interwoven highest-level powers, now were laid over them. Even after being initially resisted and diminished by Yuan's formation, it continued recklessly landing upon Wulan's body, as well as Luo Feng's massive body. On the surface above Luo Feng's body, there was an invisible shield of energy. The protective energy shield was resisting layers of attacks, these protective energy shields supplied by 1,080 million origin power. Despite depletion, it continuously replenished. Yet there was still power capable of ignoring the energy shield, disregarding the rogue's obstruction, penetrating internally. But Luo Feng's physique everywhere matched 1/10 of the Star Tower blood scale's toughness, though damaged in places, was swiftly recovering. Clear wounds were visible on Luo Feng's body surface, blood streaming, yet continuously recovering. Luo Feng held out. His comrades were previously somewhat worried. After all, facing the siege of 73 ancestors, Wulan blocked more than half. Luo Feng had to withstand the pressure of about 30 ancestors' assault. Such pressure no other lords alone could endure. Luo Feng's injuries looked more severe than Lord Wulan on the surface. But the injuries were not worsening. Every moment, affecting every part of the body. Every breath, consuming about 1% of my energy, still within manageable limits. Luo Feng was somewhat surprised. His energy reserves were so massive, the life and destruction fusion's insight into Star Tower blood scale, resulting in a body sufficiently resilient, consuming 1% of energy reserves per breath. This was with Yuan's formation, and allies' domain methods attempt to weaken it, still with such terrifying might. Luo Feng also took note of Wulan. Wulan's physique was larger than his own, also striving to block more attacks. His body akin to Source World was lightly injured. Pursuing ultimate defense of his fierce body, Luo Feng and Wulan joined forces, shielding other lords from the storm, instantly reducing the pressure on other lords. Luo Feng's revelation also completely exposed him to all forces within the infinite primordial space. At the same moment, far at his homeland Source World, Luo Feng's avatar started breaking through, began refining the Source World. This episode is end here.